According to the United Nations, the COVID-19 pandemic has created the largest disruption of education systems in history. And as schools in some states inch closer to resumption, there are fresh concerns, and this borders on sanitation, hygiene, and social distancing. Although the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has approved a reopening of schools, it has advised state governments to reopen schools with caution, stating that there might be a spike of pupils if pupils are allowed to resume without adequate preparation. Meantime, the Academic Staff Union of Universities have kicked against reopening of public universities. ASU says most public universities do not have the facilities required to comply with COVID-19 protocols. And joining me is the Director of Health Services at the Bells University of Technology, Dr. Temitope Akpelishi. Good to have you join us this hour.
Thank you for having me.
When you look at this, I mean, this has generated a lot of controversy in terms of reopening schools. You're talking about students, and some say, look, especially for the lower level, primary and secondary, you can't be too careful. But there are also concerns about universities. How confident are you that we're ready to reopen schools?
Thank you very much. I believe that we have to implement some protocols. That is the first thing. For people that are ready, some private universities are actually ready, implementing the guidelines that the Federal Ministry of Health has actually brought as given out to them. For instance, in my own institution, when we got the COVID-19 guidelines for resumption, we had to check our whole system, where we are lacking, what we feel that we don't have and we have to provide. We started all those processes concerning the water, sanitation, hygiene. We thought about social distancing, how we can reduce the number of students in classes, how we can reduce the number of students in the rooms, in the hostels, how we can actually reduce the number of students in laboratories. And we came up with so many things. Some of it is staggered attendance. We decided that, okay, we will do the timetable in such a way that maybe some students will be around in the morning, some will be around in the evening. We thought about platooning. Platooning is we reduce the number of students per course. That means if you have 500 students attending a particular course, then based on the regulation and the guideline that you have to keep to 50 to 60% of the population in a particular environment or in a particular classroom or lecture hall, we decided that we can have like 3 lectures. That means we had to adjust our timetable. Sorry to butt in,
because, you know, when you say this, it is possible with maybe private universities where you do not have a lot of students.
Yes.
When you look at, you know, government, owned universities, whether state or federal government, I mean, you have a lot of students, and these students have been home for a long time. You've had ASU strike, and then we had the pandemic. So how do you then structure, you know, all of this you just said into a federal-owned university?
Thank you very much. I think that is why ASU is talking. That is why parents are worried, because I actually went to a public university too, and I can remember how many numbers we have in a classroom at once at the early stage. So it's not something that public universities can actually do on their own. I believe that they need the support of the government. It is very, very imperative for the federal government to actually step in at this point in time and do something, because we can't keep having them at home. They stayed at home for close to 5 to 6 months. Like you said, there have been ASU strike in the past. Are they going to stay at home for a whole year? Are they going to stay at home for 2 years?
So let me ask you, because we can also deny that some students have been left behind.
Yeah.
While some private universities and private schools, whether secondary or primary, were doing a lot with their students. Those in low-income private schools and those in government schools, you know, didn't do much with their students, and so this has left them behind. And the question now is not even about how to reopen. It's really about how to get education in Nigeria back on track. And I'm asking you that question. How do you think we can get education back on track?
Well, it has to be a multi-sectoral approach. That is the first thing. It is very, very important. We don't have to put everything at the doorstep of the government. I know public universities are sponsored by states, by the federal government, but the unions too have to come together with the federal government. Even the parents too have to come together. Stakeholders have to come together. Private sectors that have interest in education, they have to come together and forge, a force Because education is the bedrock of a nation. That is the truth. We have a lot of children that are out of school. What are we doing about it? It is something, it is a step we have to take. And until we are serious about it, we will keep talking about the same problem year in, year out. I know that this problem has existed for a long time, but we have to be proactive at this point in time. It is not, how would I put it, putting blame at the doorstep of maybe it's ASU that is causing the problem, it's the federal government that is causing, it's the state government. No, we all have to come together. We have to agree. We have to see that these children are the future of the country. And we have to see that the longer they stay at home, the worse it becomes for the state, for the nation, because there's nothing we can do about it. We have to get them back to school. We have to give them quality education. We can't compare what we are giving here to what other, how will I put it, children from other countries are having. Don't let us even go out of the country, out of the, how will I put it, continent. Let us look at West Africa. Let us look at other states. Let us look at Ghana, for example. What are they doing? What is it that we are not doing right? What do we have to put in place to make it work? And then we start, correcting all those things.